Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my wonderful and beautiful little subscribers out there. And how I love you all, so, and I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delicious. And that life is treating you most deliciously wherever you are. So, what do we do, my juicy little lights? Thank you, little lights. You're delicious and bright. There we go. Okay, my delicious babies, they're lovely and bright. Now then, yeah, it's 1:05 in the afternoon in our old England, my delicious babies, and it's rather chilly outside. So, yes, I do have the heating on, okay? There's no blue sky, and, well, it's just rather cloudy. It's just dull, really. My delicious babies, anyway. Well, that's the weather, my delicious babies. Now then, so right, let's just take a look. I mean, here's the thing as well. You know what else pees me off? You know, it comes up on my dog and bird, my delicious babies, and it tells you what London's going to be, how many, like it's saying, thunderstorms. And the thing is, I really just do not want it. You know, like if you go back decades ago, I mean, I never even took any notice of the weather forecast, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? You just look outside or you go outside and you know what it's going to be like, don't you? I would have thought ding, ding, dong, dong. There we are. It's damn well common sense, really, my delicious babies. Anyway, so I've had to clear the storage on my old dog and bone because my video just cut off yesterday, my delicious babies. Anyway, I thought it was a good place for it to cut off. I was talking to my lovely dear little friend, dear little Kaz, bless her. We had a lovely time yesterday, and as we always do. And I said that was a good time to, there we are, to cut, for the video just to cut itself off anyway, my delicious babies, do you know what I mean? Anyway, I've got to wait another day to send comments again, okay? So this appears, like I said the other day, it looks like it's a regular thing, my delicious babies, okay? Anyway, who else has got back on changing the subject? Who else now is they've put back on YouTube? World Space Alternative Space Media. Okay, Josh, he's back on YouTube. Because I was listening to him this morning, bless, with anybody not in that way. I was listening to Josh on Odyssey, and, he's also on Rumble as well. And he's back on YouTube at the moment, he said. After 5 years. But I suppose, really, bless him, he's not holding it. I don't mean this in literal terms. It's figure of speech, my delicious babies, but I'm sure he's not holding his breath now. Do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? Because this is the game, you see, there we are, that's been played at the moment. You can go on any channel on YouTube, my delicious babies, right? You could scroll down, look at some of the comments, and you're guaranteed you'll see somebody who's either said, like a viewer, who said, oh, my message, my comment's been deleted, or, you know what I mean, or something to that effect, okay, my delicious babies. So they seem to be doing it, there we are, to many, okay, my delicious babies, okay, so they're just, it seems to myself, there we are, they're up to something, okay, my delicious babies. And I've no idea why they keep doing this to myself now nearly every day. This is just damn ridiculous, in my view, my delicious babies. But anyway, not to worry. Oh, and I was listening to her. So anyway, welcome on to back onto YouTube, Josh, World Alternative Media. He was talking about in his latest video, my delicious babies, just before I finish this and go on to the next thing now. About all the 15-minute cities, my delicious babies, okay? Where is he at the moment? Because he's had to come out of Mexico at the moment. I think it's while he's sorting out his visa and everything. I think, where did he say he was? In Vancouver or somewhere. Anyway, my delicious babies, okay? Yeah, they've got the 15-minute cities there. And, of course, he talks about our old England, with Oxford. He's been talking there a long time about this. So as our lovely David Icke, and our lovely Redacted, and like I said, not in that way, okay? But yeah, well worth watching the video, my delicious babies. You may be better actually to watch it either on a Rumble, or it's just a case of typing in World Alternative Media, Spaces, and then Space Rumble, do you know what I mean? Or just the same, just Odyssey. Okay, my delicious babies, Odyssee. Okay, my delicious babies, then you'll see there we are, the latest video, okay? But bless him, there we are. He keeps saying all these things now, do you know what I mean? And, well, but bless him, bless everybody who's been there. We are constantly talking about everything, okay? I was listening to, our lovely, and like I said, not in that way, our lovely Mornings with Mal Care on Rumble, my delicious little babies, okay? But halfway through, it just stopped. It stayed on pause and just stopped, and it just wasn't going any further. And it got up to the part, she was interviewing one of her guests, bless, and it got up to the part where it said, where your dear man said there, he does not understand why, many others are not waking up. Do you know what I mean, Martinish babies, to what there we are, what the truth is. Do you see what I mean? Anyway, and then it just stopped there, and I just couldn't get it to play again. I'll try again and listen to our lovely Mal later, okay? But just to hear the rest of it, because like I said, I mean, you've got certain uploaders, who do so much, research, okay? At the same time, they have, not in literal terms, it's figure of speech. They have everything flipping thrown at them, including the kitchen sink. They do not receive that reach that Sir Rattley they deserve to have. And I found it, absolutely putrid. What, because they're done telling the truth? Our lovely David Icke, lovely Mel Care, bless her, and her dear, not in that way, her dear husband, Rob. Do you know what I mean? Okay. And they're just, just trying to get all the information out. Okay. They're clearly extremely passionate about this. The same as World Alternative Media, Josh, and there's many others. Lovely, not in that way. Lovely, the David Nat show. Oh, he's starting to get better now. Fan Dabby Dursey, dear David, you know what I mean? I have kept, the dear David and his dear family in my prayers, But his dear little son, Travis, there we are. He's doing a marvellous job, taking over from his dear dad until he gets his speech back. Bless him, dear David. So, but to anybody who I advertise, on a regular basis, so very much love, not in that way. I mean it in a loving and respectful manner, okay? But yeah, absolutely banging correct, But you see, if these platforms were to be able, to get the proper reach, you know what I mean, then ones who are not fully aware of what's going on, because it will be, I should imagine, quite a shocking for many, well, it would take them a while, but they'd start to understand. But this is why I feel it's just going, there we are, rather slow at the moment, mind you, I say that, but it is picking up, because we are getting more and more who are seeing that something, there we are, is severely wrong, babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. So anyway, so to anybody who I advertise, how I love you also, not in that way, okay? And please, you do such wonderful work, and we just want millions more, there we are, to listen to you. Do you see? There we are. It is just so very important. Now then, I was listening to our lovely, that was the last comment that I could send, my delicious babies. All I put, thank you, dear UK column, and God bless to you all. And sometimes I put thank you to whoever it may be, and then I put blessings to you all. Okay, that's what I do. And then I put like a little star with a circle thing. That's what I do, my delicious babies. But it seems that I seem to be affecting the guidelines for old YouTube, my delicious babies. I'm really just not too sure how that can be, but still, do you see what I mean? My delicious babies, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Anyway, So I was listening to our lovely UK column. Oh, they're really banging, you know. Everybody who I talk about, they're all banging, okay? And they had, there was Germ, there was Mark, and there was Charles, okay? I'm really enjoying, you know, like, I just think it's flipping rocking, man. You know what I mean? Because it's, I think they're on episode 3. Okay, Mads, Lishnik babies, and I just love the conversations that they have. Not in that way, not in that way. I just love the conversations that they have. You know what I mean? I feel really with all these videos, all these uploaders. You know how I love them also. Not in that way, not in that way. But you know, it's just so beautiful to see, and like how everything is. Let's just say you imagine a beautiful flower garden, you know, something, there we are, that it's just how I'm seeing it now. It's like a beautiful flower garden, and you've got all sorts of different flowers, you know, and beautiful bush flowers and everything that are growing. This is how I see all everybody who I absolutely happen to, there we are, so admire. Okay, but that's just how I feel. Do you know what I mean? Okay, because like I said, I just don't listen to crap basically. It's not for myself. Do you know what I mean? Marzlichtig babies, okay? And you got the ones who, you know, put out the propaganda. You know what I mean? But of course, whilst that's going on, they're distracting you from, there we are, something else that's going on over there. Do you see what I mean? Marzlichtig babies. You sort of get used to it after a while, Marzlichtig babies. You know what I mean? Okay? Let me just get back to our lovely UK column now, yeah? And they're having a really banging conversation, and they got on to the point. Now, I would like to give some input here to do this, okay? And it's well worth a listen, Marzlichtig babies, on old YouTube. But they would prefer you to go to their actual website, which is UK Space Column, because you can have a membership, or you know, or you can purchase some items from their little shop, and you know, and everything like that. There's plenty of videos, articles, and everything. You could subscribe to their channels, both on their website, UK Column, or on YouTube. YouTube, sorry, never needed to stumble on that part. UK Space Column Space News, okay, on YouTube, and they're up to now 11.6 thousand subscribers, Marzlichtig babies. Yeah, and they were talking about to do with paranoia. Now then, Marzlichtig babies. So me myself, okay, I have gone through this of late. Okay, Marzlichtig babies. So especially out the whole video, because I love listening to their videos. It's banging. But you know, the whole UK column news and everything, you know what I mean, UK column. But it's this particular part, yeah, because I've experienced it of late. And what this is about is, you know, because of the spas that I've had, Marzlichtig babies, okay. You know, I had when was it? Not so long ago. One of my beautiful, dear little close friends, because I have a close circle. There we are. Circle. Okay, never needed to stumble there. She says, you got to be careful, Carla. You know what I mean? She says, you got to be careful, Carla. She says, because you know, she said, they'll think you know what I mean, up here, like, you know what I mean. She says, you know, that you get, you know, you're getting paranoid and that. Do you see what I mean? Okay, and this is not the first time. Do you know what I mean? I've had another one of my beautiful dear little friends. She never used the word paranoid, but you know, she just worded it differently. Anyway, it doesn't matter which way you look at it, all mean to say, right? Well, for myself, I wasn't offended one bit, okay? It's really hard to, it's not hard for myself, so I just need to correct myself there. It's not hard for myself explaining this. What the hard part is getting, there we are, others to believe what I'm saying. There we are. That is the hard part to this, okay? Because you know, to whoever it is and whoever I would tell it to, they would find it very hard to believe, and they have, there we are, found it very hard to believe, Marzlichtig babies. But I can well assure you now that you know what I mean, it is still happening. I mean, not so far away from myself, there's you know, there's like grey, it's like oh sorry, got my eyes itching, sorry, Marzlichtig babies. It's like it's grey, okay, in parts. Now, strangely enough, when I went on the bus yesterday, my lustig babies, right by, it's on the corner of a place, okay? And all round there is now, well, on that corner actually happens to be a nursery, and somebody's painted the exact same grey above the road sign. Okay, my lustig babies, now round there, that doesn't mean no, just got an itch. Round there, a bit further on down, they've got because sometimes I've had to deliver parcels there, years ago, and it is a for very sadly for the mentally ill, Mardelicious little babies, okay, and it is like Fort Knox. There we are to get into, you know what I mean, okay? Because you go through one door, then you go through another door, and then you know what I mean, okay? Everything is there we are, very secure and everything. You know what I mean? But that's further on down, and there's another one. Do you know what I mean? Okay, Mardelicious little babies, anyway. But at one time, that used to be. Was it classed as mental hospital? I don't like to say this actually, okay, but so do forgive me, but it used to be a mental hospital. Now it's all there's like these, they've been up for some years now, but they're probably, I'd say, I don't know offhand, probably about 12-year-old or something like that. So they're not old flats, but old flats. Then you've got houses, and it's like a built-up area with flats and everything, and some houses and everything. Okay, so then they just moved it, the hospital somewhere else. Okay, now Merst would call it what is it they used to call it for decades. We don't like to hear it. We really just don't like to hear it said like this. But ones that usually call it, the nut house or something like that. Now then, but if you look at going back decades ago, okay, you know, ones used to get dragged into those places and forced into those places, and then bless their beautiful dear little souls, drugged up to their eyeballs. Yes, I did stumble there. Okay, and they were classed as being mentally insane, my little babies, because if you look at it, there used to be mental asylums, didn't there? And then they all shut down, and then they were derelict. And I've seen there are loads of these, and especially on exploring space with space fighters on YouTube, my little babies, okay, where they went and visited these derelict mental asylums, okay, that you just got the shell, the buildings, marvelous little babies, okay. And of course, it wasn't so many years back now that they wanted, there we are, to bring these asylums back, marvelous little babies. I haven't really looked. I need to look into that actually. That's just reminded me, marvelous little babies. I need to be looking back into that. There we are, I really do, Okay, but what is the point to what I'm saying here? Well, you say some would class paranoia is, and this is another figure of speech, marvelous babies, that one has sort of lost, there we are, their marbles. That's another saying that ones would use, do you know what I mean? Okay. I personally do not feel so, but when I was listening to our lovely Mike on lovely UK Colin, like I said, not in that way, and he gave, there we are, his take on it. Do you know what I mean? Okay, that he didn't feel that that being paranoid is a bad thing. No, it isn't. And I was listening to every single word, my delicious little babies, okay? Because to myself, I do not believe that. And I believe that if somebody keeps saying something, there we are, then, and I've thought this, there we are, for decades, there we are, there is something in it. Okay? It's like when I was a wee young little lass now, wee little, young bairn, I never needed to stumble there. Where I used to live, I'm going back to when I was about 5 or 6. It's not there anymore, Mardelistic babies. It's been knocked down. And then where I moved to, that's been knocked down as well, Mardelistic babies, many, many, many years ago now. Well, there used to be this woman, bless her, And I mean, it was such a shame because, all the other little bands, because I mean, it was a lot safer in those days. I'm not old now, Mads Lishlik Babies, but it was a lot safer decades ago, Mads Lishlik Babies, sorry. And, well, they all used to take the mickey out of her. They used to class her like she was mad. But for myself, I just used to stand there and, being little, you know what I mean? I just used to stand there and just stare at her. And of course, she used to get really racked off, with the other young bands, you know what I mean? Because she used to, well, she just used to get cheesed off with them mad lipstick babies, you know what I mean? So sometimes she used to, I suppose, we never had it in our household, but she used to swear and she used to shout, okay, mad lipstick babies. But she never ever did it to myself, ever. In fact, to be honest with you, she smiled at myself, and I just smiled back. Do you see what I mean? Because I thought, well, why is she, do you know what I mean? And like, say if I seen her like doing some strange, I don't mean strange things in the wrong sense of the word, but I just thought, well, who else would normally, sort of act like that, if you know what I mean? Mad little baby's right. But if you look at it, I do not believe that your dear woman there was mad at all. There was nothing wrong with her at all. I would say that I would have said quite possibly maybe she's got very much with a pineal gland and everything. She's very, there we are, switched on. And of course, even when you go back decades ago, I mean, even if I go back decades and decades ago, I love my beautiful little mama bear. So, many decades ago, I've never said this before, my delicious babies, but there used to be some when I was very, very, very little now. And like, again, I'm saying about 5, 6, 7 years of age. And they used to call my beautiful little mama bear, oh, I love her so, used to call her a witch. Yeah. I heard that for years. My delicious babies, I've never said it on a camera before, but yeah, that's what they used to say. Because they used to say that, and then as I got older, I heard it through the grapevine, like somebody had come up to me, you know what I mean, okay? And, they say, oh, how's your mum? Like this. I said, no, she's all right, thank you, you know what I mean, okay? And then, like, throughout the years, one used to say, you know what, she's something else, your mother. And I said, oh, yes, you know what I mean? Because I was very defensive to do with my mummy and my daddy. Do you understand what I mean? Because I thought, well, you know what I mean? So if I thought that somebody was going to say something that wasn't very nice, I want to be done knowing the reason why. Do you see what I mean? Okay. But as it so happened, it wasn't really like that. What they were trying to explain to me is that with my dear mum, so because I asked the questions, there we are. I asked the questions. I said, well, why would somebody say that about my dear mum? My mummy. Do you know what I mean? And then, like, then they used to explain it to me. So I had this from when I was little, and growing up in my teenage years. Okay, and they said because when your mum gets really angry, they said then really terrible things happen. And I was told that, there we are, by a number. So I'm looking in my camera, my delicious babies, and I'm telling you, that is the truth. I've never said it before. I don't know why something, there we are, is making me say this. This afternoon, my delicious babies, there we are. There's surely a reason why. But I said, well, what types of things? I won't say on my camera. But they said no. They said she's certainly not one who you would cross, and I believe they said every word that your mum says. Yeah. Do you see? But of course, my beautiful little mama bear, she came from, because she was a palm reader herself. And you see, my mum was very spiritual. She was just a very deep dear woman, and she kept a lot to herself. Do you see what I mean? Okay, that's just the way my beautiful dear little Mama Bear was. Do you understand what I mean? I'll never hold it against her because that is who she was, and I will love her to this day. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is that she came from very spiritual. She had the Irish side, and of course she had the Bangladeshi side. But of course, if you look at Bangladesh, you look at Pakistan, and then if you look at India, well, of course that was all broken up, wasn't it? So you know, it's because it was all as one. You see, if I talk to any Bangladeshi, Indian, Pakistan, right? And if I say this to them, which I have done, there we are, long time, right? There we are. They all agree with me. Do you see what I mean? Okay, there we are. They all do. Okay, but she had the spiritual side on both sides. Do you see what I mean? Because she had the Irish side, because they are very they're very good. They are, you know, the Irish, you know, for the spirituality and everything like this. Now then, yes. And then of course you got English, Indian, Bangladesh, Pakistan. They're also the same. Do you see what I mean? If you look at other parts like Romania, you know, they can be the same. Do you see what I mean? If you look at parts of Africa, they can be the same. Do you see what I mean? Okay. There's certain, there we are, who have a strongness about them to do with the spirituality, to do with, do you see what I mean? Okay. So, yeah. But, yeah. Right, so I'm not going to say anything more now then, my delicious little babies. So getting back to that now then, so yeah, so the thing is that when I was listening to do this paranoia business, I thought, yeah, and then when dear Mark, bless him, when he said, well, no, you know, it's because it's good to be able to, you know what I mean? I think, did dear Charles say something as well? Yes, you know, like this, bless him. Anyway, but it's a good thing, there we are, to have. Because really, if you're called paranoid, you see, this is where I've always known it over the decades, Martin baby. So what, you're paranoid because you, there we are, believe something. This is my belief and has been, there we are, for decades, Martin baby. So somebody is classed as paranoid if they so if they believe something to be happening, right, and they cannot prove it. There we are. That's the best way for me to put it across. So they cannot prove it. Okay, but they know, there we are, that something's going on. There we are. That's the best way for me to explain this. I'm just trying my best to get it across the best way I can. But then because you cannot prove it, then nobody else around you, there we are, believes you. So then that's when, say, ones would say, oh, you know, you're paranoid. Do you know what I mean? Or, I mean, like my beautiful dear little friend, she would never in a million years, any of my beautiful dear little friends, right, they'd never ever say I was paranoid. None of them ever have. But one of my beautiful dear little friends, and I'll repeat it again, what she said to me not so long ago, she says, you know, they would think that you're paranoid. Do you see what I mean? Okay. She was not saying at all, bless her, because I love my beautiful dear little friends, you know, to my heart, I always will. And I love them so, and not in that way, but do you know what I mean? So she wasn't saying that she thought I was paranoid. She's saying what others would say. Do you see what I mean? Okay. So certainly, especially that part of the video, doesn't mean no man to the it's just got an itch. That part of the video really flipping gelled with myself. Do you see what I mean? Yes. Okay. So I thought, yeah. But when I say it's a good thing to have, I thought, yeah, it is a flipping good thing to have. Because you see, I was saying this long time, you know, like about the spas and everything. Nobody believed me. Now, I do have reason to believe, and I'll say this in my camera, I have reason to believe that there are quite a number who are spying on me. But I also believe that they may not realise. Oh, it's going a bit brighter now. They may not realise because whoever they've been approached by, okay, because I do not know who this is, okay, whoever they've been approached by or on the dog and bone to, whatever this has occurred, come about, maybe these have been given a different reason to what there we are it is really about. Because I do not truly believe to my heart that anybody who I would know would deliberately spy on myself. They wouldn't do it. And I've got nothing across my shoulders. They just wouldn't do it. So maybe they could have been, there we are, been given something else, had something else said to them, where they feel as if, say, for example, I don't know, maybe they're keeping an eye on me of some, there we are, of some sort. Do you see what I mean? Maybe that's the way it's been put across to them. Do you see what I mean? You have to try and work it out, see? Do you see what I mean? But for myself, I'm certainly not paranoid. But I really enjoyed listening to our lovely UK column, and German Mark and Charles. I really did because, but that's what happens. You get a label put on you. I don't mean in physical, slapped on you. I don't mean a physical slap. I mean, you know what I mean? Figure of speech. Oh, or say, for example, if somebody in the world does something different to what somebody else would do, oh, flipping, they're mad, they are. You hear this all the time, mad, and stick about, oh, they're flipping mad, they are. Do you know what I mean? Or say, for example, say if somebody's got a really a happy but bonkers personality, mind you, I suppose I can fit that category. I was like that for decades, mad, and stick babies, okay? In a nice way, okay? But what would somebody call you? I've been called everything from, oh, you're mad, you are, Carla, to, oh, you're a header, you are, Carla. Well, do you understand what I mean? You're a madhead, and you know what I mean? Okay? But do I get offended by it now? Do I get offended if somebody says, oh, somebody, once may feel that you're paranoid? No, I don't. Because for myself, I know, there we are, what I know. And I know it's certainly, on the contrary, not a sign of madness. My delicious babies, do you see what I mean? Yes, okay. So it was really interesting, but it's well worth listening to that video, my delicious babies. And for any of you who've got little bairns out there or little grandbairns, there's talk to do with that topic as well, that subject matter, babies. Okay, it's really a banging video to listen to. They all are, do you know what I mean? But they talk about very serious things. Do you understand what I mean? Yes, okay. But it's things that there we are that needs to be discussed. These things cannot just be kept quiet and hidden away. Otherwise, as a world, we're just not going to be able to push forward. Do you see what I mean? Okay, until there we are, all of these things are discussed and understood. And then things, there we are, can get done. Do you know what I mean? To have a positive way forward. I don't mean that in the wrong way. Do you understand what I mean? Yes, okay. But yeah, it's quite a subject, actually. But my heart's gone out to, I mean, I've known over the decades, I won't say too much. Anyway, I just won't say too much because at the end of the day, I don't want to mention, anyway, not being disrespectful to you, my delicious babies, but what's the point that I'm making here? Well, I've known others in my decades, my delicious babies, where maybe the family members and maybe had to, go into, sometimes they have signed themselves in. Do you know what I mean? Martyristic babies. And then there's other times, what do they call it these days? Well, they called it for decades, actually, where they section you. So, so you're classed as, again, you're classed like you're mad. Do you see what I mean? Martyristic babies, okay? When a lot of the time, I just feel that whomever it may be, anybody in that very sad situation, martyristic babies, they clearly, for whatever reason, do not feel as though they're being understood. Do you see what I mean, martyristic babies? Do you see? And it is very difficult sometimes to explain away. It's really difficult to explain things. For myself, even though I feel as though I'm very good at explaining, but even for myself, I have to try and find, that doesn't mean no, I have to try and find another way so it's better understood. There we are. Do you see what I mean, okay? Because otherwise, one certainly would think that you're, another figure of speech. That word flies around, loop the loop. Do you know what I mean, my delicious babies? When you know fully well that you're not. But I just thought that was rather in my birth race, considering the grey paint is somewhere else. And then, of course, it was exactly where I'd be looking out the window on the bus, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean, okay? Yeah? Interesting. So, yes, my delicious little babies. So, I've just got a couple of videos to tell you, and then I'm going to be over and out, okay? But, yeah, I love all our lovely uploaders. Do you know what I mean? I really have a high respect for them, but like I said, not in that way, not in that way. But I really do have a high respect for them. Do you know what I mean, okay? I just wish that everything could get out, super duper in, some millions. Do you understand what I mean? That would be, one of my wishes. There we are, to my heart. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Anyway, my delicious babies. So the first one, this is over 30 minutes long, over 30 minutes long, my delicious babies. This upload happens to have 84.9 thousand subscribers, my delicious little babies. In the old space bar in old YouTube, my delicious little babies, capital, should anybody have any form of an interest in any of these two videos that I advertised today, both on YouTube, capital U for umbrella, capital G for Gertie, then space, capital C, connect. Okay, my delicious little babies, so I'll just repeat that again. It should read as UG space connect. Okay, that's the upload of my delicious little babies. Now then, the video should read, no land, no problem. This Ugandan woman feeds a village with just her tiny backyard. Okay, my delicious baby, so I'm just going to repeat that again for you, shall I? No land, no problem. This Ugandan woman feeds a village with just her tiny backyard. Yes, my delicious baby, so you're ticked off. Our lovely dear uploader. It'll probably be a one-off, to be honest with you, okay? And not in that way, not in that way. She shows all the different plants and everything, and she even explains what is it to do with a banana skin. You can actually create, wait for this, my delicious babies, apple cider. There we are, vinegar. Okay, my delicious babies. So, yeah, apple cider vinegar, look at that. Mind you, I mean, it's not expensive to buy. I think it's about, I don't know, it cannot be anything, I don't suppose, more than £1.50 unless it's gone up or something, my delicious babies. But any kind of vinegar, there we are, is not bad for you. Okay, my delicious babies. At the end of the day, it's what you have, there we are, in moderation. Do you see what I mean? It's like for most, especially in our older England, my delicious babies, that everybody knows they love the fish and chips, don't they? So, you've got to have fish, chips, mushy peas. Do you understand what I mean? For those who like mushy peas. Oh, I love mushy peas, you know what I mean? My delicious babies, okay? I think what it is, I just feel my delicious babies, right? I just love, there we are, food, full stop. Do you know what I mean? Okay, my delicious little babies. I never needed to stumble there, but yeah, I love food. You know what I mean? Especially if it's something that I really, really love. Do you understand what I mean? Okay, yes. It's delish. You know what I mean? It should always, there we are, be so very much appreciated. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Anyway, but yeah, she does, and she explains different things. Now the thing was, again, we're hearing a lot on a lot of channels over these years, okay, and even before the old pandemic. Do you know what I mean? But you do need, there we are, good soil. It's really hard to get, like these bags that you get, okay. Because you're not too, I mean, I remember decades ago, this is just for myself, and anybody else who lives in England, you would remember this, my delicious babies, okay, that you always knew if there was something good. Okay, the smell was rather strong, but you could grow beautiful things, and that was in horse manure. mad little babies. You know, you could drive out down any country lane and all you would smell for miles and miles was horse manure, mad little babies kind. And you could see where they've been walking with their beautiful little horses, you know, because the little horses need to go to the toilet. Do you know what I mean? And then they'd just, you know, drop their horse manure, you know, on the road and just, you know, carry on trotting along, you know, as they're doing a number 2 on the way, bless them. Okay, my delicious good little babies. But anyway, but that's what you used to smell. You know, you don't really seem to. I did smell something similar actually last week. So I don't know whether somebody had been to a farm or something, but it smelled something similar. So I don't know whether they were using a different type of soil, or what do you call it, bloody fertilizer, or something, because I got it's sort of smelled a bit like that used to smell decades ago. Anyway, my delicious little babies. But this is well worth a watch, my delicious little babies, can. So I'm a quarter of the way through it, but really interesting. Now I have heard actually, when was this? Months ago now. Did I speak to somebody to do with Uganda? And they actually said, there we are, it's a beautiful country, Uganda. Okay, there we are. I actually spoke to somebody who said it's a really beautiful country. Do you know what I mean, Martin babies, kind? So, I mean, beautiful countries. So why would, you know, why would they want to come to, you know, where our weather's miserable a lot of the time and everything, Martin? I just don't get it, because if you got all that beautiful sunshine, you wouldn't want to go somewhere that's miserable weather, would you, Martin? Babies, do you know what I mean? Where you're just not getting your, you know, vitamin D or anything, Martin babies. Anyway, lovely video there. But look at that, how she can feed a village. Isn't that beautiful? Anyway, finally, Martin babies, and then this little video here happens to have 44.6 thousand subscribers. It's just over 7.5 minutes long, my delicious babies. The video should read capital K, kindred, space, capital P, pause, space, capital T, tails. Okay, my delicious babies. So in the old space bar in old YouTube, should read, if once you typed it in, sorry, please and thank you, kindred, space, pause, space, tails. Okay, my delicious little babies. This video should read, she was forgotten for 19 years. Then, this is our beautiful dear little cow's name, okay? Then Helen, the blind cow, heard her song. Okay, my delicious little baby, so I'm just going to repeat this again for you. She was forgotten for 19 years. Then Helen, the blind cow, heard her song. Yes, my delicious little babies, and now it's all ticked off. We just need to go back to where we need to go back to, my delicious little babies. Now then, from our book over there. So anyway, just very quickly, and then I'm going to go, okay? And thank you so very much for any views, for any likes, and for the occasional comments, okay? Because everybody knows that my videos do not get out these days, my delicious little babies. And again, really, have they ever got out? I would say no. Okay, my delicious little babies. Anyway, not to worry, we don't worry about it. Who's meant to see shall see, who's meant to hear shall hear. Getting back to our beautiful dear little Helen, the little cow now then. Yeah, she was in this barn and it was dark and it was, you know, and she was like that, bless her, for 19 years. And she was blind and nobody really cared as such about her. And all that she was used for, bless her, was to make milk. And then when she was no longer, you know, needed in that way, then of course, you know, so the farmer called a sanctuary to see whether they could take little Helen, and they said yes, they would. And it was so beautiful what they did. Please, I ask anybody to please just watch this very small short video, because there we are. It is just so beautiful. They made at the sanctuary, they made charms for her so that she could hear. They put like a water so that she could, you know, find the water so she could drink, you know, because she couldn't see. They put all the hair, they've put all beautiful. And, you know, because they didn't want her to be frightened, you know, they wanted her to get used to. And then one day she come out of a little shell, you know, and she sort of come walking out. They even put a broom, you know, like a broom head, and then they put that to the, to the barn, to the barn on the frame so that she could rub up against it, bless her. And it was they said it was a little favourite thing ever. Do you see what I mean? Okay, because prior to that, she hadn't seen the daylight. She hadn't, well, she was blind, bless her, but she never even walked on the grass. Look at that, my delicious little babies anyway. So she started to venture out. She's so beautiful and affectionate, to who took her in. Just so beautiful to watch. Do you see what I mean? And she's just so beautiful with the other little cows and, animals. It's just absolutely beautiful. They sang happy birthday to her. She had one of these like little Hawaiian, little, those little necklaces, little purple ones, you know what I mean? They sang happy birthday to her. She had a little cake, It's just absolutely beautiful. Do you know what I mean? For myself, there's always a point to when I mention videos. There's always a point to what I do. And I quite often say that, if we look at mankind and we look at our beautiful little babies who we call our sons and daughters, and like we say, these sanctuaries and all of these places now, because there's some are, most of them actually are beautiful. You do get the odd ones who are just ka-ching, money hungry, you know what I mean? Martyrish little babies. But, but when you actually see, there isn't really much difference. And I do not mean this in a disrespectful manner to anybody, but I've known this, there we are, for decades. I just love anything like this, but there isn't really much difference between any of us. Do you see what I mean? But there we are, there's a point to why I've said that today, my delicious little babies, okay? And very lastly, so we have do you remember all those decades ago, we used to have wells, they used to have wells where you used to get your little bucket and you used to put it down, then you know what I mean? And then just bring up your water and everything. There's even places, would be in England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and other countries, Spain as well, where, you can get to certain places. They've got beautiful little streams or where it's beautiful fresh water. So why should anybody in the world have to pay for the water, my delicious little babies, when it's already been provided for us? And why should why should we have to, pay for rent somewhere or pay to buy a house or something like this now then? Why should any of us have to do that? There we are, when it was all provided for us. I thought this, there we are, ding, ding, dong, dong, for many decades. Do you know what I mean, my delicious babies? Yes. So why should we have to pay for everything? If we came here, there we are, free. Well, until our beautiful little mama bears gave birth to us, you know what I mean? And then it's like, you got that slapped on you. Mr. and Mrs. Do you know what I mean? Or Miss. You know what I mean? My delicious little babies, okay? But we have everything free. So why should we have to pay for everything? And I'm pretty sure that they didn't have all of these water boards all those years ago, decades and decades ago, my delicious little babies, so-called cleaning the water, when you could just go to a stream or you could just go to a well, there we are, and just get your beautiful water that way. So to me, my delicious little babies, can you see how the world has been, there we are, scammed and skanked, my delicious little babies? Do you see what I mean? It's just, that's what pays you off, isn't it? Like you have to pay tax. What are you paying tax for? It's things that I've just thought for decades, and I've got to be honest, it just flipping annoys me. My delicious little babies anyway. But I'm not going to let anything spoil my day. So wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. Sending peace, love, harmony and bright blessings to each and every one of you. And may your beautiful little selves, there we are, and your beautiful little families, may you all be, there we are, fully protected. And how I love you so very much so. okay? And I shall continue to love you all, okay? So, and even if nobody views my videos, do you know what I mean? I still love you all, okay? So until my next video, thank you once again for listening. Please take a look if you can at these videos, because it's just so very interesting. I've actually saved one before I go to do with strawberries before this video came up on my feed, because both of them came up on my feed, my delicious slicker babies. But with that one, what you do, you know, like a strawberry, and you just peel a bit of the skin off, say 4 pieces of the strawberry skin, and then you put it into a little container like this with the soil, you know, each container, and you know, you put like 4 or whatever, and then you just put, you know, say about 3 in each container, just the skin, and then just gently cover it over, water it. And then what's that? After 2 months, then you start to see a little sprout. And then what does it take? Is it a total of 125 days? 125 days. And then you've got then from there, you transfer it then into a larger. Do you see what I mean? So it can grow. And after 125 days, you've got a plant and the strawberries just dangling off. So that's the one that I've saved, my delicious little babies, but I'm going to listen to this as well. I mean, that is what YouTube, there we are, is absolutely, you know, you can never fault YouTube for that. You can never fault them for, I mean, there's something for everybody, isn't there, my delicious little babies? I was talking to my dear little neighbour upstairs, oh gosh, months ago now, and they said, well, her dear little, our beautiful dear little neighbour, her dear little husband be, and he turned around and he says, you know what? He said, YouTube. He said, it's just like a university. There's something for everybody. It's very true, that, isn't it, my delicious little babies? Anyway, so you just take care now. So much love. Thank you. Goodbye.